On June 13, 1996, as dawn was coming up, a cruel killer was found which scared the people of Idaho Falls. Angie Ray Dodge was discovered dead in her apartment by two of her employees. She was vivacious and 18 years old. The neighborhood was shocked as the terrible news of her passing spread like wildfire. Detectives immediately launched a thorough investigation in their quest to identify the perpetrator of this terrible act. Finally, a suspect was identified, leading everyone to believe that justice had been served. But did they manage to capture the true villain? Was the issue resolved? Or was there more to the narrative that was hidden for years? Hi and welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, please consider subscribing, as it helps us motivate to create more intriguing content for you. Let's have a look at the 23-year-old twisted cold case solved by DNA. Angie Ray Dodge, who was born on December 21, 1977, was well known for her wit, tenacity, and no-nonsense attitude. She graduated from high school in Idaho Falls in May 1996 at the age of 18, and after a fight with her mother, she made the decision to leave her parents' home. She moved into a comfortable apartment at 4441 I Street. Angie rapidly became accustomed to her new schedule, spending the day working at a beauty salon and the evenings being independent. But after 3 weeks, she started to miss her family and went to see her mother on June 12, 1996. Before Angie went, they had a touching moment together. When Angie failed to arrive for work the following morning, Tawny and Julia started to worry. When they arrived at her apartment, they found a horrible scene. Angie's lifeless body lying on the floor with her neck slit and numerous knife wounds. Detectives painstakingly looked for leads while the police were summoned. No evidence of forced entry was discovered, indicating that the murderer was someone who knew Angie. The Idaho State Crime Lab received evidence including clothing and bedding for testing. Angie had been stabbed 14 times, and the murderer's DNA was discovered on her body. On the day her body was found, she was killed between 12:45 a.m. and 11:15 a.m. according to investigators. Angie's sad death affected her mother for years to come, and the hunt for her killer started in earnest. When they learned of Angie's passing, people were stunned and incensed. The information circulated quickly. Her family had to cope with a horrible loss while being heartbroken and unable to console one another. The Idaho Falls Police Department started a thorough investigation following the murder of Angie Dodge. Numerous in-depth interviews were done with employees, acquaintances, family members, and neighbors, but no substantial leads were found. Police and Angie's mother, Carol, were both frustrated as the inquiry appeared to come to a standstill. Carol took matters into her own hands to move the probe along. She handed out a lot of flyers advertising a prize for information, and she even went out and personally searched the streets for anyone who might know something about her daughter's death. On January 5, 1997, a breakthrough finally materialized after 7 months. Angie's friend Benjamin Hobbs, an Idaho Falls native who knew her through the band the River Rats, was detained in Nevada for a crime like Angie's murder. Detectives suspected Benjamin may have important information after learning that he was pals with Christopher Tabb, also known as Jeremy Sargass. Tabb first denied being involved when questioned, but he later changed his narrative. He admitted to being present when Angie was killed and accused Benjamin of the crime. However, Angie's body and possessions did not match either Benjamin or Tabb according to DNA testing. Later, Tabb changed his identity to Jeremy Sargass and asserted that Angie's death was the result of the use and murder of both Benjamin and a friend also named Jeremy. This new information further complicated the investigation and left the detectives unclear about what to do next. Tabb's credibility started to wane as the probe went on. The police tried their best to obtain proof, but they were unsuccessful despite lengthy interrogations and several lie detector tests. The prosecution's case suffered a setback when Jeremy's DNA test results came back negative on January 27, 1997. On January 29, frustrated prosecutors withdrew Tabb's immunity agreement and charged him with lying. Tabb was under increasing pressure, and on January 29, when he went to the crime scene, his lawyer refused to go with him, making matters worse. Tabb modified his narrative once more, this time blaming another man named Mike for the murder of Angie in an effort to rescue himself. The police had a hard time understanding this fresh information. Finally, on January 30, 1997, during a subsequent lie detector exam, Tab came clean and admitted that he had helped attack Angie under the threat of Benjamin killing him. On February 3, 1997, Tab was charged with first-degree murder and criminal possession of a deadly weapon. While involved in a different crime in Nevada, Benjamin was not charged in connection with the death of Angie. Jeremy, formerly Christopher, was first accused of being an accomplice. However, the accusations were later dismissed, leaving Tab to bear the entire brunt of the prosecution's case. In May 1998, Tab's trial got underway, garnering a lot of media coverage and general public curiosity. Tab insisted on his innocence throughout the trial, highlighting the fact that the DNA evidence did not match him. However, the judge permitted the use of Tab's coerced statement as evidence against him. Destiny Osborne, a surprise witness, claimed throughout the trial that she overheard Tab and Benjamin discussing Angie's murder at a party not long after it had taken place. The jury ultimately found Tab guilty despite the defense team's arguments and the absence of DNA evidence connecting him to the crime. The judge, however, decided against applying the death penalty and instead gave Tab a 30 to life in prison sentence. Because the DNA evidence did not match Tab, Carol, Angie's mother, remained persuaded of his innocence. She kept looking for justice and was determined to find out the truth. The murderer's DNA was ultimately entered into a national criminal database in 2009, but no matches were found. Family DNA testing was introduced as a result of Carol's finding of a Florida-based DNA analysis business. Tab's case was re-examined with the aid of Dr. Greg Hampton, a forensic DNA specialist, and the Idaho Innocence Project. Hampton came up with a risky scheme to upload the crime scene DNA sample to public databases despite legal restrictions. When a match was discovered in the DNA database of Ancestry.com, this resulted in a breakthrough. Detectives focused on Michael Ursey Jr., who lived in New Orleans and had links to Idaho, after learning that the DNA match matched to Michael Ursey Sr. Michael Jr., a darkly inclined filmmaker, was identified as a suspect in Angie's slaying. More than 18 years after the crime, in December 2014, he was found. Michael Jr.'s DNA did not, however, match that of the crime scene sample, according to later DNA testing. Another failure in the inquiry made the police determined to follow any leads regardless of their perceived importance. Carol also refused to give up on her quest to identify the real murderer. After watching hours of tapes of Tab's interrogation and noticing contradictions in his assertions, Carol's concerns about Tab's culpability got greater. She enlisted the aid of Stephen Dreisen, a specialist in false statements and Tab's attorney. When an outside investigator appointed by the prosecutor's office learned that Tab's confession had been coerced and the evidence against him was suspect in 2015, the case took an unexpected turn. Despite this information, Tab was nevertheless found guilty of murder. His attorneys submitted a post-conviction relief request in May 2016 in the hopes that fresh DNA evidence would exonerate him. Tab received support from the neighborhood, which prompted the prosecution to change his mind. A new agreement was eventually made in which Tab would be freed after serving 20 years in prison but would still face murder charges. Destiny Osborne, a significant witness, later changed her story, casting further doubt on Tab's culpability. Tab was eventually let out of jail on March 22, 2017, but his conviction remained a mark on him. The fact that Angie's real killer was still at large kept the community on edge. Angie's murder case took many unexpected turns. Tab's mother sought help from genetic genealogist Cece Moore in 2018, leading to the identification of Brian Dripps as a suspect. Dripps' arrest in May 2019 and subsequent DNA match to the crime scene led to Tab's release in July 2019. Tab filed a lawsuit against the city and former police officers. Dripps confessed in February 2021 and received a life sentence in June 2022. Tab was awarded $11.7 million for his wrongful conviction. This complex case highlighted the importance and limitations of DNA evidence in criminal investigations. As we reflect on this case, we are left wondering how we can continue to enhance the justice system to ensure that those who commit crimes are held accountable while also averting the needless suffering that comes from false convictions. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments. Join, like, comment, and share the channel as often as possible. Thank you for watching. Be careful.